Do you want to hear about something completely different and relatively bite-sized in comparison?
Yes, please.
Sega Rally's good, isn't it?
Yep.
Well, seeing as Sega haven't really thought about the series since 2007, I think when Sega Rally Revo came out that I talked about recently.
Oh, yeah.
It's now ended up being the responsibility and or burden, I guess, of indie developers to try and keep the rally dream alive. So during the recent Steam summer sale, which finished a week or two ago, I stumbled upon a game I've never ever heard of called Rally Arcade Classics. And it looked a bit like Sega Rally. The user reviews talked up its handling and relative breadth of content. And so for £7 or £8, whatever it was in the reduction, I was all in. And it's just a good racing game with plenty to do and medals to aim for and some ghosts to beat and online leaderboards to climb, like all the stuff I like doing in a racing game. Most stages, at least in the early game, are very short, like 60-second point-to-point time trials or a short drifting course or a brief start at the back and work your way to the front, of the pack sort of thing, like race style. But in time, as your skills improve and the cars you gain access to ramp up in power, the events open up, they get longer, they get more challenging, and there's hundreds of these things to do in little kind of like bite-sized portions, broken down into little groups that ensure regular rewards and fill-ups to keep you engaged. And without being particularly conscious of it, on several occasions, I've started an event, I've got the gold time, that's the best time you can get on a race, and then just kept racing my ghost to try and make my way up the leaderboard, because it's fun to see the number get lower as you get better. And I guess that's the real sign of a good racing game, because just the racing part is what makes it good fun. The fact that I felt able to get better as well each time is a sign that the handling is really solid and precise and learnable. And even though the whole package is very clearly a small team, low budget effort, it works really well. It's not a looker. I think it's perfectly serviceable as games go. But rather than go for a deliberately super low poly presentation that apes the classics, like the upcoming old school Rally looks like it's trying to just be a Sega Saturn game, or trying to capture the spirit of Sega Rally whilst boosting visuals as far as possible, like Overjump, which is coming up in the future. Rally Arcade Classics is somewhere in the middle, just making the most of what it's got. So even with all settings maxed out, it's still very modest, it's very functional, not stylized, just is what it is. And I think that's fine, because similar to something like New Star Soccer, which looked at, say, FIFA or Pro Evo at the time and realised that attempting to ape the presentation or scope of those games would be a fool's errand. Rally Arcade Classics looks at games like Dirt or older titles like Colin McRae or V-Rally and just tries to get to the core of what made those games fun, rather than worrying about the presentation as the primary thing. It's trying to find what is in the gooey centre beneath kind of the branded cars or the liveries or the photorealistic tracks and everything else. And the answer it arrives at, much like New Star Soccer, is just the rhythm of gameplay. So in racing, it's the rhythm of just flicking your analog stick left and right, or feathering the throttle and the brake to tease out a long drift. And all of that with kind of the satisfying chimes of checkpoints and, the stuff you unlock at the end of a race is just really good fun. So it doesn't copy its influences because it's clear it would never have the budget to do so. It can't go full mimicry. It just understands what those games were doing and therefore has its own juice. It's got the juice.
Oh God, we're back with the juice again.
The handling model is the handling model.
Did you notice in the artwork for that episode I had you holding a little pixelated carton of juice?
I don't think I did, actually. I'd have to go back and have a look.
Yeah.
But yeah, the handling model is just the handling model. The assists are minimal. There's no Forza-style rewinds or anything like that. You just have to stay present for the 1 or 2 minutes the race is. You just got to lock in, and if you mess up, you restart. If you mess up again, you restart, and eventually you get through it. And you get given a new race to do it again. And it just feels really good to play. I go to play for 10 minutes and I realise an hour's passed. There's no bloat here. There's just plenty of cars and tracks and times and medals and leaderboards. And it's a game that's just made by people who love old racing games. And they've made their own one for people like me to love onwards. So yeah, very glad to have taken a punt on that one. I don't know if it's got a big user base or not. Like I said, I'd never heard of it. Had never come across my door, as it were. But yeah, it's good. I like it. I can recommend it. It's probably a few more quid now because the sale's finished, but even at 10, 15 quid, it's probably worth it.